Speaker, we don't work by way of feelings here. Here, you know, this is for the welfare of society and the just government of the people. It is by way of reasoning and rationale. You know, if you take seriously the majority leader, and I'm on a point of order, they cannot be calling point of order. I'm on a point of order.
What is your point? Just hold on, there's a point of order there from
point of order. They don't even know.
The Honorable Sunkuli. Allow him, let me listen to everyone. Honorable Sunkuli.
Madam Speaker, the Honorable Chepkonga is the chairman of my committee and I respect him very much. But is in order to say that this is a house of banter when in fact it is a house of record. Madam Speaker, if it goes on record that the Honorable Masara is not of sound mind, how are generations going to know that it was said in jest? Unless, and you know, the Honorable Ichungwa is not exactly a very entertaining person. He is the leader of majority and he says things that carry the weight of government. Can it be expunged from the record?
Okay, Honorable Chepkonga, you have a minute to finish your point of order, and then I'll come to you, Honorable DK, and I'll come to you, Honorable Farah.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. The good thing is that the Honorable Sunguli was just adding to what I just said. The Honorable Masara, Madam Speaker, I can confirm as a lawyer that he is of sound mind. In fact, you know, the majority leader was saying so. You know, he's an accountant. And if you thought that what Honorable Masara was saying, maybe he was adding 1 + 2, it was 5. Then he thought he was not of sound mind. The intention was not to say he was not of sound mind, that the maths that he was adding was not correct.
Honorable
Yes.
Chepkonga, Honorable Chepkonga, you seem to be holding brief for the leader of majority. And I don't think he has instructed you to be his advocate in this case. I'll come to you. There was already a point of order from Honorable David Kiplagat, member for Soy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm rising on a point of order following a statement from Honorable Masara. My point is, if there was anything that was said, it was yesterday. And I don't know whether the Honorable Member, whether he had not processed, say that where he slept, he has thought about it. But since it is water under the bridge, the only thing the Honorable Member can do is maybe to rise to give an adjournment motion to discuss whether he is of sound mind, or else to apply officially under the order paper that we have a statement that he wants to make. But for him to come and raise a point of order in a motion that has already passed, I think it is out of order. Thank you.
Honorable David Kiplagat, actually Honorable Francis Masara, member for Suna West, made a statement, an oral statement to the House in response to what transpired yesterday, and I think he's in order. Just hold on. The Honorable Farah Malim, member for Dadaab.
Yeah, point of, my Honorable Madam Speaker, the rules are very clear. Actually, the Speaker said candor and banter. Candor is related to the word candid, C-A-N-D-O-U-R. And bantering is a good-humored, you know, jokes and exchange. Order. Sorry.
Honorable Chepkonga, you had the opportunity to speak. Please allow the Honorable Farah Malim to speak.
Now, the rules are very clear. The rule says that you cannot impute an improper motive on an own member of parliament without a substantive motion. Very clear, very clear. And I think if he had stood on our point of order immediately and seek redress, the chairman of the majority leader would have been told to withdraw that. Now that is in hindsight, I think we just have to observe that you cannot say you're a fool or you don't know anything or you can't say anything. You cannot impute any improper motive on a fellow member of parliament.
Thank you, Honorable.
without a substantive motion. Thank you, Madam
Thank you, Honorable Farah. I think just to put this matter to a close, I wish to bring your attention to the following standing orders. Yeah, I think, honorable members, I bring your attention to standing order number 87, which says that neither the personal conduct of the president, nor the conduct of the speaker or judge, nor any of the conduct of a person performing judicial duties, nor the conduct of the head of state or government, or a representative of a friendly country, and the conduct of a holder of office, and so on, etc., cannot be raised unless it cannot be mentioned adversely, except upon specific substantive motion of which at least 3 days' notice has to be given. It goes on to say that no member shall impute improper motive to any other member or to a senator except upon a specific substantive motion of which at least 3 days' notice has been given, calling in question the conduct of the member or senator. It goes on. I'll skip 5 and 6 and move on to Standing Order 88, retraction and apologies. A member who has used exceptional words and declines to explain and retract the words or to offer apologies for the use of the words to the satisfaction of the speaker shall be deemed to be disorderly and should be dealt with in accordance with the rules pertaining to disorderly conduct. So, honorable members, it is my finding that the words that imputed mental incapacity or mental unwellness on the part of Francis Masara were out of order, and we shall wait for the member concerned to give an apology at the time when he's in the House. And but in any case, I think that particular part of the Hansard should be expunged from the record. Thank you, honorable members. Let us now proceed. I think under order number, under order number 7, I think now we have the member for Ijara. He's back. Member for Ijara, Honorable Abdi Ali.
Thank you, Speaker.
You have a statement, right? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to make a general statement regarding the disappearance of 3 persons from Ijara, Sangailu, Boda in Ijara constituency. Honorable Speaker, in pursuit to the Standing Order 43, subsection 1, I wish to make a statement on the disappearance of 3 persons from Ijara constituency. Honorable Speaker, on 15th September 2023, Mr. Mohammed Abdi of ID number 39304504 was abducted by unknown persons while herding his cattle in Boni Forest. 1 week after that incident, Mr. Ahmed of ID number 35411319 was abducted from his house in Bulagora village in Ijara Ward, Ijara constituency. Similarly, on 23rd September 2023, Mr. Abdi Jibril Dagane of ID number 26853446 was abducted at Bargoan village in the outcast of Bodai sub-county while looking after his cattle. Honorable Speaker, the three are persons of high stature within the community, being renowned business men and herders. Efforts to trace their whereabouts have not borne any fruits, and their families believe that the 3 were abducted by persons alleged to the security agents. Honorable Speaker, I call upon the government, and specifically the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government and the Inspector General, immediately undertake the necessary investigations and ensure the persons are located and reunited with their families. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Those members who would like to say something about the... Do we have any questions? Thank you. Oh, no, let me give... No. The Honorable Member, you're on your feet. I can't quite see you. Not you, Honorable Kangogo. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity as well. Madam Speaker, I want to bring to the attention of the House that maybe most of us as members of Parliament from the other parts of this country do not appreciate the magnitude of this statement given by Honorable Abdi Ali from Ijara and last week by Honorable Yakub from Bura constituency. This issue raised by the two members of Parliament is very rampant in our area. We are facing a very difficult situation where we are targets by for Al-Shabaab, who are now terrorizing our communities in the region. And as well, looks like the police have also turned to be terrorists again. We are being intimidated. We feel that the footprints of these abductions squarely lies with the security agencies in the area. We have so many forces, different formations with different names in the region where we do not have an opportunity to address, or we do not know who to address to on the ground. So I want, and I'm asking this House and the Interior Ministry to take up this matter very seriously, because we are being forced as a community or as a region to, in the situation we are in, we do not know whether we should side with the other side or with our government or our people. The president during the last election campaign was very clear on this issue. This issue of extrajudicial killing and abduction of people from their homes and houses, the pain that these families feel over the years is still continuing. And we were promised this will stop. And it seems that this thing is coming back again. So we ask the House and the Interior Ministry to take this matter very seriously. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Farah Malim, and then I'll come to you, Honorable Atandi. I've seen you.
Oh, yeah. Madam Speaker, I join my two colleagues from Garissa, the Honorable Abdi Ali and the Honorable Retired Major Deko. Madam Speaker, over 1,200 elderly women, youth, mature men have been abducted in this country, and we do not know where they are. In the last 10 years of the Jubilee government, the fact that one of the very first pronouncements that this president did is to say that there will never be any more abductions of Kenyans. There has to be a rule of law, and anybody who is a suspect will be taken through a process, was a very welcome and very good statement. We enjoyed that relatively well, but now in the last couple of weeks, this thing is coming back again. To some extent, even the people who are fighting Al-Shabaab, I know of a man who has created a militia himself in my constituency who has been fighting Al-Shabaab. And again, he was told by the anti-terror police to come and record a statement. Now I'm wondering whether our security machinery is working with Al-Shabaab or they are working against Al-Shabaab. This thing, the government must take it very seriously. We cannot be pretending to be fighting the terrorists there when we are actually aiding the terrorists and fighting the ones who are fighting the terrorists. So I think the government, through none other than the minister himself, for internal security and all the security machineries, need to sit down with us and make sure that they are doing the right things. We know how to deal with them. In my constituency, there's not a single Al-Shabaab because I have a militia there that takes care of them and kills them every day. I do not need the security machinery because the security government, conventional security machinery, was never able to do that because they cannot chase them by on foot. Now that we are doing that ourselves, we need to be given all the assistance by the government. We have accepted that we will take this ourselves and move in there and make sure that we eliminate these people. But the government has got to support us. The government does not have to support the other side. Thank you.
The Honorable Atandi, then I'll come to you, Honorable Kangogo. Yes, I can see all of you.
Thank
including
you, thank
Honorable
you, thank you,
Mutunga.
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, allow me to join my colleagues from Northeastern who have raised this issue of insecurity in their areas where Kenyans are being kidnapped and they cannot be traced. Madam Speaker, recently I heard the Cabinet Secretary for Defense claiming that he is going to do everything within his ability to ensure that the questions of Al-Shabaab is clearly cleared. But Madam Speaker, we are really failing as a country. And the fact is that the questions of homeland security in our country is something which we have not been able to address as a government. And even to date, Madam Speaker, these issues are everywhere. Other than the Al-Shabaab question, there's also insecurity issues across the country. In my constituency, thugs, robbers are roaming around. And Madam Speaker, I was surprised when our president said that he's willing to go to Haiti to help. So, Madam Speaker, we want to urge this government to be serious and to get focused. You cannot claim that you want to go to Haiti to address insecurity issues in Haiti, and your own country people are being kidnapped, and thugs are roaming around, you know, and you cannot even handle them. So let us be a government that is going to be very serious. And if we cannot address our own challenges, Madam Speaker, this is the moment I need to air my views on this Haiti issue. I know it will come here. But I know that this government is fond of making mistakes, obvious mistakes. This government does not even listen. You know, they just wake up and make pronouncements that have no basis. So this issue of Haiti, in line of the challenges we are facing as a country.
Honorable Atandi,
yeah.
You're contravening Standing Order 85. You're anticipating debate of a matter that is yet to come to the House. Just proceed along the lines.
I'm just discussing something which is national, which is being discussed across the country. It is something which Kenyans are discussing, and Kenyans are wondering why you are asking.
Or a statement relating to that, but you have the opportunity to follow up.
Let me, Madam Speaker, let me conclude by saying. Let me conclude by saying that the government of the day needs to wake up and do things that will serve Kenyans, especially in the area of security. And we don't want to hear these issues of Kenyans being kidnapped, while ministers are sleeping in the offices and the president is roaming around the world, touring and making speeches, some of which have no basis and have no relevance for the people of Kenya. Madam Speaker, I support.
What's your point of order on the Fadimbrad? Member for Kwanza.
Madam Speaker, let's be a bit conscious. I think the point raised by our friend from Nigeria, I think it was more important we talk about what is happening in that area and then bring in Haiti. If you are completely out of order, I think don't allow this kind of thing. If it's Haiti, which is everybody is talking about, we'll talk about it later. But we are talking about a situation which 2 or 3 people have been abdicated. That means we should do something about that. And ask the police to do something about the abdication of innocent people. If it's a police, we talk about the police and specify the area, somebody in charge of that particular area. What has he done? But now bring in Haiti and talking about the president doing nothing about it, I think is not bearable. I can't be sitting here listening to people talking about things that are not actually applicable here. Can he withdraw what he has just said about the president and what the government is doing about Haiti? We are not talking about that. You are not finished. You withdraw.
Honorable Kangogo.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to support my good friend from Ijara, and especially the disappearance of the 3 of his constituents. Madam Speaker, our security in the country has become very a serious issue, and our security officers, they have become more overreactive than proactive officers. Madam Speaker, whenever there is an issue, for instance, of a security problem in an area, our police officers, they go thereafter and they react in a different ways, including abducting people. Sometimes they get the wrong people. Or sometimes even they go drive away animals, like what they did in my constituency, driving away animals which belonged to a different innocent people. Madam Speaker, it's a general insecurity in the country is a big problem, cutting across all the way from the northern Kenya to Rift Valley. And Madam Speaker, we want our security officers, including the NIS, to get their information right, especially when it comes to security, because sometimes you will find that innocent people are victimized. Innocent people are killed, and the criminals are left out still roaming. Madam Speaker, as we speak, there are many KDF camps which are set up in Kerio Valley, for instance, and even there are many also in Northeastern. But you will find that the impact is very little. They wait until those Al-Shabaab or those, they attack, and then now they go following the footsteps of the Al-Shabaab and say, when following to a certain village, abducting just innocent people. Where were they when those criminals were planning the attacks? Where were the NIS? Where were the security officers? So, Madam Speaker, we want every Kenyan to account for their deeds and actions. If you are found to be a criminal, let someone be taken to court and be prosecuted, Madam Speaker, so that we don't just find people disappearing, and these people we cannot tell were they criminals or not. Madam Speaker, the other issue I want to speak, Madam Speaker, in this issue, even in Kerio Valley, I lost quite a number of people who were abducted, and then some of them, they were found in rivers somewhere. Some of them, they were found in West Pokot. They were thrown in the forest in the name of they were criminals, they were bandits. And you will find that sometimes they just innocent people. So we want to see a functioning, a working security system in Kenya. People who can follow a rule of law. We cannot just have as our security officers, even including senior government officers, when they are going somewhere, they go with all the cameras, with all the media houses. They go issue press conferences, and in the afternoon they are back to Nairobi. The same security continues in those places. We want to see a serious, functioning national security. Madam Speaker, I want to support my colleague, the Honorable.
The Honorable Member for the Honorable Mutunga, Mr. Honorable Mutunga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to also support my colleagues on this particular issue. Honorable Speaker, as he read through the statement, he mentioned how people are being picked. It is systematic. It is happening on a continuous basis. And there doesn't seem to be an end to this. Honorable Speaker, sometimes we remember with nostalgia when we used to have CIA in this, CID, a working CID in this country. When people could not do anything, anywhere, and run and get away with it. I remember the time when people could not even write anything in their own houses. The time of seditious publications. Honorable Speaker, we need the police organized. The police needs to get to their work. They need to get people everywhere. If there is a problem with the police, if the police are not enough, or if the security system is not enough, we need also to think of arming the civilians. There used to be NPR, even in town, even in this city, there used to be NPR. I remember Patrick Shaw was shooting criminals in this town. There were several others who were actually hunting criminals and killing them. These are criminals who have started in a certain corner of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, there is no guarantee that they will not go everywhere in this country. There is no one who is safe. If they can abduct somebody from Boni Forest, tomorrow they will abduct somebody from Lamu itself, Lamu town. Next day they will abduct somebody from Kitui. Then they will come to Nairobi, then they will go everywhere. They must be stopped. And to stop them, we must see seriousness in the function of the police and the function of the security system. And the issue of having NPR needs to be looked into, because local communities know exactly what happens. Sometimes they have insights, but they do not have the means to contain these criminals. So there is need for us to think about having the local community engaged in having concerted efforts in containing the insecurity in some of these areas. And I want to reflect on my own constituency, Tigania West, where we border Isiolo. And there has been issues of insecurity for a very long time. And we have requested the government to add. They have given us only 10 NPR. We need about 40. If we have 40 because there are 400, each one of them can contain 10. So we are saying, Honourable Speaker, we need to, if we cannot have the police, armed police taking care of this country, let us arm the civilian and we'll sort out the problem. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Mount Elgon, Honourable Kapondi. Honourable Members, let's keep it brief because I know that this concerns many constituencies. So I think let's make it brief so that many people can have a chance.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, I want to thank you for this opportunity to add my voice on what my colleague from Ijara has raised. And Madam Speaker, this issue of insecurity around that area, I think it requires a relook in terms of strategy. Look at this case of Boni. It has become an endless story to an extent that whatever is happening currently there is a forgotten case. So, Madam Speaker, bearing in mind that for the first time in the history of this country, the security sector is in the hands of the local boys from Northeastern, I think it is the humble time for the leadership from that area to sit down and come up with strategies so that this situation is eradicated once and for all. Madam Speaker, there is an issue that my senior Farah has raised. Adding militia can also assist organized locals because the area is vast and you cannot overwhelmingly depend on the security services on the ground to sort out the mess. Because in majority of the cases, you may be surprised that they are also contributing to the problem. Because what is happening, and I've been raising some of these issues in committee meetings, is that the security personnel that are pushed to some of these areas as a security personnel that are facing disciplinary action. So somebody who is a disciplinary case, somebody who has a problem with alcoholism is posted to these areas. What kinds of security support are they going to provide? Obviously, they will be part of the problem. So we need an urgent solution so that this problem cannot be recurring every now and then, so that we should not be sitting here lamenting instead of providing solutions. So, Madam Speaker, I would suggest, and in the affirmative, you know, when disappearances happen in rural areas, that is a signal of a failure on the part of security to sort out the mess that is there. So we need to do something urgently, and we need to do it now. Colleagues from Northeastern, you need to take advantage of the government initiative that the locals are in the forefront of leading the security sector in this country, so that we should stop lamenting, we have solution, we put this thing in the back burner of history. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Before we proceed, allow me, honorable members, to recognize the presence of the following schools who are seated in the public gallery. Kwatito Secondary School from Kilome constituency, Makueni County. Little Stars Academy from Embakasi West constituency, Nairobi County. Delight Kids Center Primary School from Embakasi West constituency, Nairobi County. And lastly, I recognize the presence of Westlands Primary School from Westlands constituency, Nairobi County, seated at the Speaker's gallery. And on my own behalf and that of the National Assembly, I wish to welcome the teachers and the students of those schools to the National Assembly. Thank you. The Honorable George Murugara.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support the request made by the member for Wajir, or for Injara, as regards the disappearance of the 3 constituents due to insecurity in that area, not just in that area, but in the greater part of the northern Kenya and northeastern Kenya. It has been persistent. And it is the high time a solution is actually found, because we cannot live in this country with areas, certain areas, especially the northern parts of Kenya, being insecure, while we have some of the best security forces, very well trained and professional, and they are available. Somebody somewhere is not doing its job, is doing his job, and this is why you hear members trying to drag in the name of His Excellency the President, which is actually not proper. It is improper in that it is because of the work he has done, he is earning that recognition, including the plea being made to him to assist the country of Haiti. This is not unusual even in other areas of the country, including my own constituency, because about a month ago, some 3 traders from the Raka constituency did undertake a journey to Isiolo, to a town known as Kinat, for business, livestock business. On the way they were kidnapped, they were robbed, and in fact, they were killed. Their bodies were discovered 2 days later, and we are to bury these gentlemen coming Saturday. Up to today, the only news we have for the people of Tharaka is that investigations are going on. And this is not good enough. To the police, to NIS, to the DCI, and everybody, this is not sufficient. It is the high time we go back to where we used to be, when you would actually not cough. And the then, they were NIS with a different name, intelligence, whatever their name was. The special branch would actually get you from underneath your bed. This is where we should be. We cannot be waking up to crime after crime when actually we have security agencies that are top-notch in the world, very well trained. Some are taken to Israel, some are taken to European countries, to the Americas, and they come back when, in our view, they are actually ripe for the job. But soon after that, it is abductions, it is killings, it is loss of lives in unexplained circumstances. They themselves cannot explain. It is the high time we put this to a stop. Let us have investigations that are complete, not pending forever, and also let's not edge on statements that the security agencies were not aware. Thank you very much. I do support.
The Honorable Member for Marsabit, Honorable Naomi Wako. I'll come to you, Honorable Member for Homa Bay Town.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support this very important statement by Honorable Abdi Ali of Ijara regarding the disappearance of 3 male adults. And it is something that is very common to many of us who come from northern part of Kenya and northeastern. And Madam Speaker, especially in Marsabit and the northern part of Kenya, we feel that the life of wild animals is more important than the lives of human beings. And that is why the disappearance of these 3 adult, male adults is not taken seriously, because the families are going through a lot of stress and suffering. They don't know whether their loved ones are alive or not. And sometimes we even feel that the attention that the security agencies is giving is not worth the life of these people. So, Madam Speaker, the insecurity in northern part of Kenya has been going on for many years. And when you report the procedure that you go through, because they take a lot of time, even for them to accept that something serious has happened, I don't know whether it is their way of responding to issues or any distress call or any report they get, but it is as if whoever is reporting is not given any attention. And that is why, Madam Speaker, I feel the police service needs to be reformed completely. And now that we are digitalizing everything, especially from those areas, can we propose that they digitalize, especially that area whereby somebody somewhere is suffering and a life is in danger, so that they can quickly act and either save a life or act quickly so that the people who are affected can feel that at least they have gotten the attention of the government. Some 3-4 years ago, some people were abducted here in Nairobi from Marsabit. And we followed the issue until even after elections. And up to date, we don't know whether those people are alive or they are not alive. And the families, the children, the neighbors, when they remember that, and it is something that they keep remembering. You know, they call us as leaders and we have no answers. And I'm sure even Mheshimiwa and all the others who are from that area are going through the same stress at this particular time. And that is why today we need to demand protection of every life in this country. It doesn't matter where you come from, who you are, and what you are doing. To protect people's life is the priority and should be the responsibility of our government. In my own county, and especially in Saku constituency, Madam Speaker, people cannot do business in my county anymore, and especially Saku, because during the night, the town or the village is taken over by others, and they loot. They can drive away your animals while you are watching. They can, you know, get into your house and kill you. They can come to your shop and you cannot say anything. When you report, it is after 6-7 hours that they can come and do or start the investigation. And by that time, you've lost everything, you've lost a life, and even that person has already died and buried. And so that is why we feel that the losing of innocent lives through bullet or through disappearance has become the order for the day, and we need to overcome this. We used to say, especially those of us who come from northern part of Kenya, some time back we used to say, it is when you get to Nairobi, to Isiolo, that you feel that you have seen Kenya. And this happening, you know, the killing and the disappearance of our people happening, makes us feel that we are not yet fully adopted or accepted as Kenyans. So, Madam Speaker, I support this, and it is my prayer that these people will be traced and their families can be updated. Thank you.
Honorable Member for Homa Bay Town, Honorable Kaluma.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to add my voice to this matter. Honorable Speaker, may I first join you and the House in welcoming the students and pupils who have come from across the country to observe the proceedings. And maybe in pride, Honorable Speaker, indicate to them that the presiding speaker today was my teacher at the law school. And so it is just in order that you've also come with your teachers. We are praying for you, and we are looking forward to a time when your teachers will be on the seat of the speaker, and possibly several of the pupils and students here present today will be speaking granted permission by their teachers the way you have, Honorable Speaker. And I'm saying this in jest because it's the first time I'm confirming the Honorable Speaker taught me. You know, Honorable Naomi Wako does not know that. And so it's a pleasurable thing when we have teachers and students also in the House. Honorable Speaker, I've served in the Security Committee of the National Assembly for the past 10 years. And in that period, I've toured all these disturbed parts of our country, from northeastern to Ijara to Boni Forest and all those people, all those places. I want to thank the honorable member who has brought this matter to the House, by way of statement for bringing it up. Honorable Speaker, to lose a life is a very serious matter, and it's a very painful matter, because the first duty of any state is to protect the lives of its citizens. To lose 3 cannot be any less serious. And an Honorable Speaker, I'm confirming it is not only the 3. In my tour of duty in the areas being spoken about, Kenyans wake up not knowing whether they'll return home alive in the evening. Kenyans bid their children bye in the morning not knowing they will hug them again in the evening. And you listen to members blaming it on the police and other services. I think the time has come for us to be much more serious. There is a very big problem with the management of security in Boni Forest and other places. Honorable Speaker, when I toured these disturbed areas, I met the police officers. And the police officers who are assigned duty in these operation zones, once you go there, you are forgotten. I met officers who are posted in these areas, and they stay there for 20, 23, 27 years from the time of recruitment. They are not being moved back to serve other places. These police officers are not being promoted. These police officers are not being rewarded. These police officers do not have equipment. Honorable Speaker, these are areas which are infested with a lot of improvised explosive devices. You can imagine a person is crying they are under attack, and you are being required as a police officer to go in ordinary vehicle. You've seen these officers being blown up as they are going to help each and every time. We want to say that let us give these officers equipment. Let us facilitate them. Let us treat them as other Kenyans. And then let us bolster the security in those areas. Honorable Speaker, it is very painful. When you want to know a senior police officer in Nairobi, Honorable Speaker, you look at their waistline. You have police officers with over 56, 70 waistline. They are too big in the middle than the body. But they're the officers being promoted every day. Wives of people, relatives of people, other officers serving the country are rejected outside there. I want to ask Honorable Speaker that this matter returns to the House in a better form where it can be discussed in depth and serious solutions can be preferred around those areas. Boni Forest is a very small place. Why don't we have enough police officers there, even if they are walking on foot, to clear this so-called Al-Shabaab at once, instead of our watching as people are being butchered like goats and other animals the way we watch every day. Yet police officers are idling here. Why don't we have KDF officers romp this place we call Boni Forest? Within 1 week, we have our security apparatus and we clear this area and we shield it from external aggressions in the future. Honorable Speaker, strategies can be applied. I pray that the Honorable member pursues this thing. Let us have a motion or a form of proceedings before the House over this matter on which we can give resolutions which can be actionable, Honorable Speaker. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, I know because it's an emotive issue and it touches on your constituents, I exercise my discretion to allow you to speak at length on this point. But I think this is a matter members also can raise with the Cabinet Secretary for Interior. And also, I just want to bring your attention to Standing Order 43, Members' General Statements. Notwithstanding Standing Order 30, on hours of meeting, the Speaker shall interrupt the business of the House every Tuesday at 6:30 to facilitate members to make general statements of topical concern. A member who wishes to seek leave to raise the matter under Standing Order shall, before 3 p.m. on the day of the statement to be made, hand to the Speaker a written notification of the matter, but the Speaker shall refuse to allow the request unless satisfied that the matter may properly be discussed in the House. No member making the statement under this standing order shall speak for more than 3 minutes unless you have the permission of the Speaker. So, but then it goes on in 44, talk about statement hours. So I know because it's an emotive issue, we've ventilated a bit on it, but we shall leave it for the next Tuesday we have. I know next Tuesday is a public holiday, but the Tuesday following that, I encourage members to bring it because I know that there is another one which is another similar statement that is awaiting approval of the Speaker that is similar. So let's hope we can do it on a Tuesday. So I think for now, let's just move to the next order. Okay, next order.
Questions.
So I hope Honorable AJAABU, you stand advised, yes? Thank you. Do we have any questions? Who are the owners of the questions? Okay, I can see on the list here, ordinary questions. The Honorable Member for Matuga, Honorable Kasim Tandaza. Is not in the House. Okay, the Honorable Member for Bahati, Honorable Irene Mrembo. Are you present? Okay, you may proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise on standing order number 42G. My question is directed to Teacher Service Commission. Could the Commission clarify whether not being a bona fide local of a county was one of the criterion for disqualification from being recruited from junior secondary school internship positions in the county? Enumerate the parameters, if any, used to clarify an applicant as a local or non-local of a particular area for purposes of being employed in that area. 3, explain why Ms. Edna Mino Nzioka of ID number 22445112 and TSC number 998705, a resident of Bahati constituency, was turned away during interviews for junior secondary school internship position at Kiamaina Primary School in Bahati constituency on 1st August 2023. Explain the administrative measure it has put in place to ensure that recruitment of junior secondary school interns is transparent and free of any form of discrimination. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. I think this will be replied before the Departmental Committee on Education. Next question is by the Honorable Member for Moiben, Honorable Professor Phyllis Barto. She's not present. The next question is by the Honorable Member for Homa Bay Town, Honorable Peter Kaluma.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to ask question number 451 of 2023 to the National Police Service Commission. Honorable Speaker, could the Commission explain the transfer policy for police officers in the National Police Service, more so with regard to officers deployed in operation or hardship areas? 2, explain the promotion policy in the National Police Service, particularly with regard to officers deployed to serve in hardship and operation areas. 3, state the measures regarding transfer and promotion of officers who have served in operation and hardship areas for over 3 years. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable, okay, that will be replied by before the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Affairs. Next question is by Member for Bamachoge Barabu, Honorable Engineer Obadia Nolfason.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like to place the following 3 questions to the National Police Service Commission. Could the Commission, 1, explain the transfer policy? Could the Commission explain the circumstances under which the National Police Service Commission terminated the services of Mr. Japhet Mochama Mauti, force number 90638, with effect from 21st November 2016? The second question, could the Commission explain why the National Police Service Commission is yet to reinstate Mr. Mauti after the High Court acquitted him on 25th of July 2019 for all charges trumped up against him, including alleged possession of 720 rounds of ammunition and 5 liters of rifle oil. The third question to the Commission: could the Commission state the action it has taken to reinstate Japheth Mochama Mauti to the National Police Service and compensate him for the 7 years of joblessness that he has endured following his unlawful dismissal in 2019? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. The question will be replied before the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Affairs. Thank you, Honorable Obadia. Next order.
Order number 8, the National Transport and Safety Authority Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 36 of 2023. First reading. A bill for an act of Parliament to amend the National Transport and Safety Authority Act.
Next order.
Order number 9, the Land Control Bill, National Assembly Bill number 39 of 2023. First reading. A bill for an act of Parliament to regulate certain transactions in land for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 10, motion, review of the scope of education bursary scheme under the National Government Constituency Development Fund and Capitation for learners in primary and junior secondary schools.
Mover, the Honorable Edward Muriu. Cancel.
Madam Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to present this motion, to move this motion before the House. But before I move the House, allow me to correct Honorable Kaluma, who is very proud of you that you are his teacher at the University of Nairobi, and also let him know that we were schooling together at the University of Nairobi. So when he's talking about his teachers, he should not also recognize me as one of your teachers, Mr. Karuma, Honorable Karuma. Thank you, Madam Speaker. The moved motion on the review of the scope of education bursary scheme under National Government Constituency Development Fund and the capitation of learners in primary and junior secondary schools. Madam Speaker, that aware that Article 43(1)(f) of the Constitution, as read together with Article 53(1)(b) and (c), entitles every child to free, quality, and compulsory basic education. Cognizant of the fact that access to funding for education immensely contributes to the realization of the universal access to basic education in the country. Appreciating that Section 48 of National Government Constituency Development Fund, NGCDF Act 2015, establishes education bursary schemes for every constituency towards access of basic education. Noting that Section 48A of NGCDF Act further allows for affirmative action mechanism of allocating additional funds to cater for education bursary scheme and other teaching and related activities, including the feeding program. Concerned that NGCDF Act allocation of bursary schemes under the fund are not more than 35% of the total constituency allocation in a financial year, and thereby limiting the number of cases that may be supported to access the basic education. Further, concerned that the NGCA board has only been approving bursary support to secondary and tertiary education and not primary and secondary, and not primary and junior secondary schools, cognizant of the fact that they're failing to extend the bursaries to the primary and junior secondary schools on assumption that the two levels of education are free is a misnomer. Since the government capitation per pupil is inadequate to cater for the mandatory material requirement for the competency-based curriculum education, that is CBC, thereby affecting the pupils whose parents are unable to meet the attendant cost, and deeply concerned that continued exclusion of allocation of the bursary to primary and junior secondary school violates Article 27 of the Constitution, which talks about discrimination and slows down the attainment of universal basic education in Kenya. And now, therefore, this House resolves that the education bursary scheme under Section 48 of the National Government Constituency Development Fund, Act 2015, be extended to support learners in primary and junior secondary schools to cater for competency-based curriculum requirements. 2, pursuant to Section 48A of National Government Constituency Development Act 2015, the NGCDF board is in each constituency approves additional allocation to education bursary schemes in order to support the teaching and learning related activities associated with CBC in education, including the school feeding programs. And 3, the government revises the capitation per student in primary and secondary school from the current 1,200 per child per year to 7,760, being the minimum optimal capitation, factoring the new CBC education system and prevailing high cost of living. Madam Speaker, this is an issue which is more of a moral and a constitutional issue. Madam Speaker, if I invite you to Article 27 of the Constitution, the article says very clearly that every person is equal before the law and has a right to equal protection and equal benefit. 2 says equality includes the full and equal enjoyment of all rights and fundamental freedoms. Article 43, Madam Speaker, if I can invite you, is about economic and social rights, and it says that is Article 43, 1B, it talks about 1C talks about every person has a right to be free from hunger and to have adequate food and acceptable quality. Madam Speaker, Article 53, which does more on the children rights, it says in particular Article 53, B and C, it says every child has a right to 1, that's B, to free and compulsory basic education. C, every child has a right to basic nutrition. Madam Speaker, the motion before you addresses the issue of not only on the basic education as provided for by Article 53, but also on Section C of Article 53, which provides that every child in this country is entitled to basic nutrition. Madam Speaker, you may find that in this year's budget, we provided for 620 billion to improve the quality of education. But that budget, Madam Speaker, did not touch on the quality or provision of nutrition of our children, and that goes hand in hand. Basic education goes hand with basic nutrition. And therefore, Madam Speaker, sir, Madam Speaker, I'm talking about, the motion here is seeking, number one, to move the Ministry of Education to provide adequate provision for capitation in primary and junior secondary school, because the current capitation only was revised in 2015, but when the new curriculum started, that capitation has not been revised. And that's why it remains per child 1,420 instead of 7,760. Number two, Madam Speaker, Section 48 and Section 48A of National Constituency Development Fund Act 2015 provides that bursary the amount capitated for bursary is only that 5%, which, Madam Speaker, is not adequate to cater for secondary schools, to cater for TVETs, to cater for universities and colleges. Number two, under Article 27, the National NGCDF Board has only been approving bursary for secondary and tertiary education, leaving out the primary school students, the primary school pupils. Madam Speaker, under Article 27, that is discrimination. You cannot provide for one part or some of the students and fail to present the other. The second issue, Madam Speaker, is the moral issue. The bursary provided for in the secondary and universities, Madam Speaker, that amount of money goes straight to support their feeding program, because education has already been supported by the capitation. Now, here is the moral issue, Madam Speaker. The secondary school students are being well fed. The university and tertiary students are being well fed. Whereas the students in primary schools are being left out without being fed. And Madam Speaker, as a mother, how can you feed an adult and leave out a child who has just been left, who has just come out from the mother's breast? And therefore, Madam Speaker, I'm moving the motion that the NGCDF board need to comply with Section 48A and provide for bursary to support feeding program in our primary school, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much. And I request Honorable Adan Dawood, Member of Parliament for Wajir West, to second the motion. Thank you. Hapana, rafiki yangu tunajuana.
Proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am from Wajir East, Wakili, but that's okay. You got the Wajir part right. Madam Speaker, I rise to second this motion. This is a great motion coming at this time. It has two objectives, Madam Speaker, and those objectives are in line with Article 53 of our Constitution. And those objectives of this motion, one is to increase capitation for primary and junior secondary school, and second is to breathe life to Article 53. In terms of increasing capitation for primary and junior secondary school, Madam Speaker, this country has adopted a new curriculum which is called the CBC. This curriculum is very intense, it is practical based, and it requires a lot of time and resources for these students to learn. This curriculum also requires very consistent and continuous assessment of the children. Madam Speaker, it has now fallen to the parents to fund this curriculum and not the national government, as envisaged under Article 53 of our Constitution. As eloquently said by the mover of this motion, Article 53 says that every child has the right to free and compulsory education. It is compulsory for our children to go to school, and that school should provide free education. But if the capitation that was approved in 2015 is not adequate to provide for the CBC curriculum, then the idea of free education will not be there. Therefore, this is a motion that has come at the right time to emphasize that compulsory and free education. The second part, objective of this motion, Madam Speaker, is to breathe life to Article 53. Article 53 talks about the compulsory free basic education, but also talk about compulsory basic nutrition. Basic nutrition, Madam Speaker, as this article says, is providing food for our children. A hungry child will not learn. A hungry child will not learn, and it is important. Food can only be given if the capitation is increased. Madam Speaker, it is unfortunate that this House passed 630 billion shillings budget for the Ministry of Education. Those 630 billion will not go, have not gone to our schools. Many schools across the country have not even received that very meager capitation that we have approved in 2015. And one wonders, then why do we give this huge budget to the Ministry of Education? Madam Speaker, every child has a right to a free and compulsory basic education. But in parts of this country, other than the lack of resources, there are lack of teachers. Not because we have not approved for hiring of teachers. Actually, in the last budget, we have approved for the hiring of 30,000 teachers. But again, because of bureaucratic snafu and because of bureaucrats who think that they are bigger than the constitution of this country, that has not happened. Madam Speaker, there is a monster called the Teacher Service Commission, a commission that we created as one of our Chapter 15 commissions. I hope and pray that this House and the people of Kenya will take TSC back to the Ministry of Education as a statutory commission and not as a constitutional commission. TSC does not even take orders from the Ministry of Education. It is the minister who comes to Parliament to request for budget. When we give that budget to the ministry, the minister cannot even order for transfer of a teacher who has done something wrong. Madam Speaker, this motion has come at the right time. It is a motion that will give right to our children and will give basic education to our children and will take care of the nutritional needs of our children when they're in school. And for that reason, Madam Speaker, I support this motion, and I hope other members of this body will also support this motion. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I second and support.
Thank you. Honorable members, before I propose the question, I wish to recognize the presence of St. Teresa's Secondary School from Gatanga constituency, Murang'a County, who are seated in the public gallery. And on my own behalf and that of the National Assembly, I wish to welcome all the teachers and students of St. Teresa's to the National Assembly. Thank you. Honorable members, I now propose the question that aware that Article 43(1)(f) of the Constitution, as read together with Article 53(1)(b), entitles every child to free, quality, and compulsory basic education, cognizant of the fact that access to the funding for education immensely contributes to the realization of the universal access to basic education in the country. Appreciating that, Section 48 of the National Government Constituency Development Fund, NGCDF Act of 2015, establishes education bursary schemes for every constituency towards access to basic education, noting that Section 48A of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Act further allows for affirmative action mechanisms of allocating additional funds to cater for education bursary schemes and other teaching and learning related activities, concerned that the NGCDF Act caps the allocation to bursary schemes under the fund and at no more than 35% of the total constituency allocation in a financial year, thereby limiting the number of cases that may be supported to access basic education. Further concerned that the NGCDF board has only been approving bursary support for secondary and tertiary education and not primary schools, and the recently created junior secondary schools, cognizant of the fact that the failing to extend bursary to the primary and junior secondary schools on the assumption that the two levels of education are free is a misnomer, since government's capitation per pupil is inadequate to cater for the mandatory materials required for the competency-based curriculum, CBC, thereby affecting the pupils whose parents are unable to meet their attendant costs. Deeply concerned that continued exclusion of allocation of bursary to primary and junior secondary schools violates the provisions of Article 27 of the Constitution and slows down the attainment of the universal basic education in Kenya. And now, therefore, this House resolves that the education bursary schemes under Section 48 of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Act of 2015 be extended to support learners in primary and junior secondary schools to cater for the competency-based curriculum requirements. 2, pursuant to Section 48 of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Act of 2015, the NGCDF board in each constituency approves additional allocation to the education bursary scheme in order to support for the teaching and learning related activities associated to the competency-based curriculum education, including school feeding programs. And last 3, the government revises the capitation per student in the primary schools from the current 1,420 per year to at least Kenya shillings 7,760, being the minimum optimal capitation, factoring the new competency-based curriculum education system and the prevailing high cost of living. Those members who want to contribute, please press the intervention button. I can see the Honorable Member for Gilgil, Honorable Martha Wangari. I can see the Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi. I can see the Honorable Dorothy Kiara. So after Honorable Wangari, we can go to Honorable Dorothy Kiara and then move on like that. Thank you. Proceed, Honorable Wangari.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And from the onset, allow me to congratulate Honorable Moreu of Gatanga for bringing this very important issue on the floor of the House. Madam Speaker, we have for the first time are seeing children from primary schools being sent home for fees. It has never happened. You walk in the streets and you find a child and you ask, why are you not in school? They have been sent home for small monies in primary schools. And this, Madam Speaker, you can actually be able to see we have a big problem. And you know the way JSS was structured, it was initially meant to go to secondary schools. And if it went to secondary schools, then they would have gotten proper capitation as it is in the normal secondary school, Madam Speaker. But today, these children are 11-year-olds on the streets, not going to school, and they cannot raise that 3,000, they cannot raise that 4,000 that is being asked to be able to provide food and other necessities in the school. Madam Speaker, what this means, we are joking with a very serious issue and actually precipitating a crisis in our country, because we are talking of an 11-year-old or 12-year-old who is not able to access education. And Madam Speaker, what that is doing, as I said yesterday, you have children, especially girls, being lured to early marriages, to early pregnancies, to defilement cases, because they do not have the food and they don't even have sanitary towels. Madam Speaker, if we cannot provide food and sanitary towels for our kids, then we are failing as a nation. Madam Speaker, this issue of capitation, even the small capitation of over 1,400 that has been put in this motion, even that one is not forthcoming, is not on time, and we have allocated the money in the budget for JSS. I have some schools in my constituency, and I can actually sample a few, Madam Speaker. I have Kigogo Primary, I have Mbegi Primary, I have Olesirwa Primary, I have Dhome. I even have a special school called Gilgil Special School that has not so far received the small capitation from the Ministry of Education. Madam Speaker, we not only need to relook the way the NGCDF is wired, but more importantly, actually, the money that should go to JSS should come from the Ministry of Education. The money we are doing and giving as bursaries, Madam Speaker, is never enough, especially for the ones that are big constituencies, Madam Speaker, like mine. You get 11,000 or more applications, and the money you give is to maybe 3,000, 5,000, all the way maybe to 7,000, and you're giving a maximum of 3,000 shillings for day secondary schools, Madam Speaker. If we add another burden, then we will need to open up the brackets. The maximum that has been set as 35% is not sufficient to cover our day schools, to cover our secondary schools, and also cover JSS, Madam Speaker. That means we are struggling with a generation. And Madam Speaker, this problem also between the TSC and the Ministry of Education must actually be addressed. And I had the seconder talk about it, because at the constituency level, you are having a problem of who is issuing orders or directives in the schools. Is it the Ministry of Education officio, or chair, or constituency rep, or is it the TSC, especially on the running of schools and the teachers, Madam Speaker? This confusion is not helping the already bad situation and must be addressed from the cabinet level. Madam Speaker, I want to support this motion and actually hope that we can be able to actually look at JSS the way it should be, because we have now gotten teachers in some schools, not all of them, but the capitation issue must be looked at per child, so that we are able to ensure that every child is not sent home. Parents already struggled to get their kids to JSS. And you remember the issues we had that time. They needed new uniform, they needed desks, they needed all manner of things when reporting. And Madam Speaker, I've seen parents struggle to buy these things. And then they are told they need to pay fees. They come to CDF, we tell them we do not fund primary schools. That confusion, Madam Speaker, is actually going to bring a serious issue, a generational issue, and we are going to lose very many children. That's why you're seeing the transition this time and this year has not been as good as it's been in the other years, Madam Speaker. So I support this motion, and I hope that we can actually get to the implementation. The implementation committee should be able to pick it up immediately, so that we have a report in this house very soon to be able to know what have we done, because I have no doubt we will actually pass it in this house, because it's very important and cross-cutting in all the constituencies. But implementation of motions, that is where the problem is. Let the Committee of Implementation take it up, bring a report to the House.
Thank you very much, Honorable Martha Wangari. The Honorable Dorothy Ikiara, nominated member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish also to add my voice in this very, very important motion. And I want to thank Honorable Wakiri Edward Mureu for bringing this very sensitive matter before the floor of this House. Honorable Speaker, I too appreciate that Article 53(1)(a) entitles every child to free, quality, and compulsory basic education. Honorable Speaker, access to funding for education is not a choice. It is something that is enacted in law, and it is something that we must follow to the letter. Honorable Speaker, I share in the pain of the parents who are seated down in their homes, thinking that education is free, and every time these children go to school, they are found in the roads every day, day in, day out, Honorable Speaker, because they cannot afford some of the necessary revenues that they are being charged at the school level. I also sympathize with the teachers, Honorable Speaker, because it is not the interest of any teacher to send any child out of class. But Honorable Speaker, it is in common knowledge that no operations can continue without money. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I support this very important motion. I want to, on the outset, say the Ministry of Education, which is charged with the responsibility of ensuring that they follow the policy to the letter. They are the ones who are failing us in this sector, Honorable Speaker. The Teacher Service Commission mandate is very clear. I've heard Honorable Mheshimiwa Wangari saying they would like to know the difference between what the Teacher Service Commission is supposed to do vis-a-vis the Ministry of Education. The work of the Teacher Service Commission is purely management of teachers. That is why we fought for the Teacher Service Commission to be an independent commission, and they manage teachers, employment, transfer of teachers. The work of the Ministry of Education is policy, and Capitation directly falls in the Ministry of Education. Honorable Speaker, improving quantity and quality of education, therefore, requires the policy to be addressed. Both demand the demand and supply chain, Honorable Speaker, is very, very key here. For CBC to be a success, there needs to be provisions of more textbooks, classrooms, blocks, trained teachers, etc., so as to ease the supply side constraints of education. Number two, Honorable Speaker, the students also need to be fed, which is the demand constraint to education. For example, Honorable Speaker, in Ghana, it was established that one of the reasons why children do not attend school and that their parents cannot afford to pay the levies charged by the schools. If this does not happen, Honorable Speaker, then the nutritional aspect is never taken care of. And this is the more reason why we find the enrollment in our schools is so constrained. We don't have enough students in class because, Honorable Speaker, they cannot be able to meet their basic needs. Honorable Speaker, I support this motion that indeed capitation monies needs to be increased. But by so saying, Honorable Speaker, it does not mean that we eat into the NGCDF kitty. Because, Honorable Speaker, NCDF kitty has its own obligation. Honorable Speaker, it is the responsibility of this government to ensure that this capitation is increased, Honorable Speaker, so that it can be able to cater for the needs of the vulnerable and the less advantaged in the society. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, it is not a favor when we seek for additional allocation to the education bursary.
Thank you, Honorable Ikiara. The Honorable Zamzam Chimba, member for Mombasa County.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi nichukue nafasi hii kuweza kuzungumzia mjadala wa leo, na ni dhahiri shairi kuwa watoto wengi Mheshimiwa Spika wako nyumbani kwa sababu especially wale ambao wako katika elimu ya chekechea, elimu ya msingi, wazazi wamekuwa na mtihani katika kuwalipia ile matakwa yao katika shule, na ndio maana leo mimi nasema katika sheria ya Kenya elimu ni bure katika shule za chekechea, katika shule za msingi kwenda mbele, elimu ni bure. Na mimi nataka kusema hivi Mheshimiwa Spika, mjadala huu ni mzuri sana tukizingatia kuwa tunataka tuweze kufanya kuwa serikali waongeze ruzuku ya watoto katika skuli, ili hao watoto ambao wako katika shule za msingi ambao tunawaona wengi wamekuwa machokora kule barabarani. Pengine akienda skuli unaona anaulizwa remedial fee, unaona anaulizwa kitu fulani, nenda ukanunue, mzazi hawezi. Lakini ikiwa tunaweza kuongeza ruzuku ama capitation katika haya maskuli, itakuwa wazazi wanawepesi wa kupeleka watoto shule, na tunaweza kupigana na ndoa za mapema. Manake kusema kweli, katika CDF na hata NGAF, NGCDF na NGAF, sisi tunashughulika kulipia masomo ya sekondari na masomo ya katika shule skuli za college. Na mimi nataka kusema hivi, Mheshimiwa Spika, elimu huanza chini. Uweze kumweka mtoto awe na msingi mzuri wa elimu, lazima mtoto apate chakula kizuri, lazima mtoto awe darasani kila wakati, lazima mtoto akitoka nyumbani hata kama tumbo liko bila chochote, akifika skuli atapata kitu, atapata ruzuku, ataweza kufocus na masomo yake. Mheshimiwa Spika, katika kaunti yetu ya Mombasa ama gatuzi la Mombasa, Mheshimiwa Spika, ukienda pale ndani ya town, Mheshimiwa Spika, utapata watoto wengi sana wamekuwa omba barabarani. Kwa sababu gani? Wazazi sisi tumewacha kufuatilia, na hasa katika serikali wameweka elimu ya bure, lakini haifuatiliwi kazingatiwa vizuri. Watoto wakipelekwa skuli, Mheshimiwa Spika, wanaulizwa mambo mengi sana. Mara utapata mtoto yuko barabarani, ukimuuliza anakuambia nilifukuzwa vitabu, nilifukuzwa kitu fulani, nilifukuzwa kitu fulani. Kwa hivyo mimi naomba serikali, kama tuliweka elimu ya bure, tuweze kuzingatia mtoto akifika shuleni. Hii elimu ya bure inakuja na package, inakuja na vitabu, inakuja na chakula, inakuja na mambo yote ambayo yatamfanya mwanafunzi akikaa darasani awe anaweza kuzingatia masomo, Mheshimiwa Spika. Lakini kila uchao hao watoto wanafukuzwa nyumbani. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi naweza kuwahisi wale wazazi ambao maisha yao ni duni. Ndio maana kama Mama Mombasa nasema tufuatilie sheria, na najua ipo katika sheria. Nafikiri kuna lawyers ambao wako hapa, sisi wengi hatujafuatilia sheria kikatiba vizuri, lakini wako hapa wabunge wenzetu ambao wanaweza kuelezea kwa kina kuwa kuna sheria kuwa elimu iwe ya bure. Lakini watoto wakifika skuli, Mheshimiwa Spika, wanaulizwa mambo mengi sana. Na ndio mimi naomba kama Mama Mombasa County, Capitation ama kuzidisha ama zile grants ziweze kwenda pale shuleni, hao watoto wapate kusoma bila kufukuzwa, bila kuulizwa mambo mengi, Mheshimiwa Spika. Katika kaunti yangu, Mheshimiwa Spika, watoto wamepata mimba za mapema. Watoto pia katika shule ya msingi wanahitaji sodo, wanahitaji kuangaliwa vizuri, Mheshimiwa Spika, na bila sodo mtoto utapata amerudi nyumbani, Mheshimiwa Spika, anakutana na mtu njiani anamwambia mimi nitakupa 100, nitakupa 200, njoo tupite kwa kando